Hi, gang. This is an Escrow 101 class. So I'm assuming that these are all new agents, yes?
There's a mix of new agents and experienced agents in this class, David.
Thanks, Paula. Okay, now I'm starting to see people. There's Damasio. How are you, Damasio? I can't hear anyone. All right.
No,
So
it's a lot of noise in my background. That's why I turned the microphone off. But
not
I hear you.
Guys, I apologize. I'm not familiar with Zoom, so forgive me for being so kind of bad on this. Okay, so we're just going to be going to Basic Escrow 101. The documents that are required for escrow, why we need these documents, and it's good for you all to know. You need to know this because your agents are going to actually ask you these things. I mean, your clients are going to actually ask you these things. They're not always going to come to escrow to ask all of this stuff. Many times they're comfortable with you as you're their client. They're your clients. So these are some just very basic things, why we need them. My name is David, by the way, for those who don't know me. I've been running a desk here in town since 1985. Got started at a company called Brentwood Escrow, which is no longer there any longer. I opened up the first independent West Coast escrow after Cole Banker bought that, bought the name. And then I opened up the very first Pickford escrow in LA County. So that's just a little history about me. I've been around a long time. Thrilled to be with Larchmont. Now, a couple of things with Larchmont Escrow. I have two brand new brand new assistants. So I'm working with them, so please be patient on that. Okay, so document number one. How many of you know all of the documents that we do in escrow? Anyone? Damio, Louise? Are you new? Are you guys new agents? Perfect. Okay, that's perfect. Okay. So, and I will actually email these to you both or to whomever else wants them after the close of escrow. After the close of this meeting. So you guys know what they are. So we're going to have what's called, I was going to print these all out for you. Our IT guy, Gaggy, switched my computer here, so I can't print today. So he's working on that as we speak, but I'll send all of this to you. So if you're representing, I'll go through the buyer first and then the seller, okay? Your buyer's documents are going to be a lot smaller. So if you're the selling agent, the very original opening package, first thing we're going to do is send to you the wire instructions for the earnest money deposit so we can get that on in. So we'll need your client's information, all of their information, their email addresses, their phone numbers, etc., so we can reach them. So after we prepare our escrow instructions, we basically prepare this based off of the RPA. What happened here? Oh, crud. Okay, there we go. So on the RPA, things have changed a lot in our industry. When I first picked up my desk, we actually used to have to hand type the escrow instructions, and that was based on the contract. So that was a lot of work. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they combined it, residential purchase agreement or the vacant land or whatever it is. and joint escrow instructions. So now a lot of the escrow officers, at least the newer escrow officers, won't put in any sort of instruction that escrow needs to be aware of. I'll always put that in there because not only will it help the clients, it'll help us as escrow that we need to order a NHD report from Premier NHD, or we need to, there's going to be a $5,000 non-recurring closing cost, etc. So the escrow instructions are basically going to be a recap of the actual RPA, but in a smaller scaled down version. So documents that are going to go to your buyer, if you're the selling agent. Number one, a statement of information. What the statement of information is it's a document that's required by the title company. All buyers and sellers need to complete the SI. You'll hear it called an SI, Statement of Information. Now, many clients don't like getting these because it's going to ask for their date of birth, their social security number, where they live for the past 10 years, on and on and on. They say that that's an intrusion into our privacy. Well, unfortunately, since California is the largest state in the union, we have 40 million people here. That's 1 out of every 8 Americans lives in California. You're going to have a lot of common names. So you're going to have a lot of John Smiths or Jose Garcias. Okay. Well, since there are a lot of common names, you may have liens or judgments with the IRS, Franchise Tax Board, somebody suing you, etc., against your name. Now, how title deduces that it's not you, they're going to say, okay, that's not their social security number. They never lived in Sacramento. That's not their driver's license number. Wrong date of birth. Okay. So that's what title does, is they're insuring the property. Title has a legal obligation that if there are any liens, like I said, such as a franchise tax board lien, you haven't paid your taxes, those are going to have to be paid, and that's going to follow you. So if it is you, title's going to catch that. If it's not you, that's how they clean it off against your client. Okay. So again, since buyers and sellers do not like getting this quite often, they think it's an intrusion into their privacy. Well, title's ensuring that. So it's a legal requirement for title to have that taken care of. So another document going to the buyer, and this is all the buyers, we're doing the buyers first. It's called a preliminary change of ownership report. And a lot of these things you may have heard of when you were taking your class to get your licenses. But this will give you more detail as to what they are. So what the preliminary change of ownership report is going to do is that is what goes to the county assessor's office, because once the property is sold, the county tax collector, county tax assessor is going to reassess the taxes for the new property based on the new purchase price. Okay, so it's going to ask a lot of very simple questions. Typically, escrow will fill that out because buyers get a little overwhelmed with that. It asks, who's you're purchasing this through, the purchase price, loan amount, how much cash you're putting down, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be your primary home or not. But these are certain things that the county assessor is going to need. And if it does not go down to the county recorder at the time of closing with the grant deed, the county assessor is going to continue to go after the buyer to have that completed. They're not going to be able to get away with it. So it's called a preliminary change of ownership report. Again, I will send you guys, whomever wants a copy of it, I'll send you guys a copy of this. Just so you have samples for when your clients ask you any kind of questions. You'll know what they're talking about. You'll know how to answer them if they do not come to escrow. Most of the time they'll come to escrow, but a lot of times they're just more comfortable with the agents. So preliminary change of ownership, that goes down to the county recorder with the grant deed at the close, okay? We have the buyer's vesting information sheet. Now, buyers can take title umpteen different ways, okay? You can take title as a corporation. You can take title as an LLC, a limited liability company. You can take title as joint tenants. If you're married and you do not want your spouse on title for whatever reason, then your spouse will need to prepare a quitclaim deed. Your spouse needs to sign off on that, their spouse. Okay, so the reason that is that's not in the entire country. It's only in about 8 states. It's because California is a community property state. So quite often you'll say, well, wait a second, I don't think my wife should have to sign this. I just want to take title by myself. In the state of California, if you are taking title by yourself, we do need to have a quitclaim deed recorded at the close. Cannot close on that. So going back to the buyer's vesting, if they are married, if it's a married couple, you can take title as joint tenants or community property. Differences, joint tenants, heaven forbid something happened to one of the spouses, the 50% interest automatically goes to their surviving spouse. Under community property, what'll happen is you've been married before, or the client's been married before. They've got 4 kids with a different spouse. They don't want everything to go to their new spouse. They have a will, their kids are going to get some, their mother's going to get some, and their spouse is going to get some. That'll be community property. Should anything happen to one of the spouses, that interest will automatically go to probate and distributed based on the will. Now, if they're not married, you're taking title with a friend or your cousin or whatever. Same thing you can do is they can take it as joint tenants. Same thing applies. Or instead of community property, you'll take it as tenants in common, which would be the same thing like community property, but it'll go to, it'll be dispersed based on the will. Now, a third statement of information, you're going to get a lot of documents that are required by the state and by the feds, okay? So we're going to send out the Privacy Act. That's simply telling your clients that we are guided by state and federal guidelines, simply stating that in escrow, they're giving a lot of their personal information, their birthdays, their social security numbers, etc. Many clients get weird about that, as I stated earlier. What the Privacy Act is we can only use their personal information for this contract. We cannot give it away to anybody else other than to title, who needs a lot of this information. So you're going to get that Privacy Act. You're going to get what's called the State Information privacy sheet, which means that in the state of California, vendors or industries can save a lot of your personal information. Like May Company can save your personal information. But after you purchase something, they need to delete that if you request it. By law, they have to delete it. Escrow is a separate being where we're required by law to keep those files for 3 years or 5 years, all depending on if you're DRE or DFPI or DOI. You'll all know what those are. DRE, Department of Real Estate. DFPI is an escrow independent company that is regulated by the state of California. And the DOI is Department of Insurance, same thing. So escrow in any of those different branches, if you will, are required by law to maintain those files for a certain period of time. In DRE, it's 3 years. So that's basically your buyer side. Your buyer side is going to be a fairly simple package that they're going to get. Now, if you're on the listing side, your seller's package is going to be a lot more detailed, okay? So on the seller side, you're going to get, of course, your escrow instructions. You need to let your escrow officer know, because we don't always get the listing agreement. You need to let us know the commission amount. If it's 2% per side, if it's 3%, if it's 2.5%, if there's going to be a split commission, if you're getting 3%, the selling agent's getting 2%. And to let us know if you want a commission instruction to go to the selling agent, or if you want a CBC, a cooperating broker commission, compensation rather. What that is going to do is just going to show their side that they're getting paid. It's not going to show. That happens quite often when a listing agent does not want the selling agent to know what their commission is. Well, of course, it's in the MLS. They're going to know what they're going to be getting, but sometimes they don't want it to be in their face. So let your escrow officer know, whomever it is, whomever you're with, know what the commission amount is up front. We like to get that out up front and don't like to have to, go and track that down. So documents that your seller are going to get. Same thing, the statement of information, the exact same thing. We have what's the Cal FERPTA. Do you guys know what the Cal FERPTA is? Anyone know what the Cal FERPTA is? Or Form 593? In the state of California, if the property was not your primary residence 2 out of the past 5 years, then the state of California Franchise Tax Board is going to want 3.33% of the purchase price. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of new sellers, they may have just bought the property a year ago and they want to sell it now. And they're saying, well, we're not quite sure about this. So that's called the Form 593. Your seller needs to disclose that was their primary residence 2 out of the past 5 years, or else we need to disclose that to the Franchise Tax Board. That is for the state. We're going to have another document that's very similar. It's called the FERPTA. You may have heard of the FERPTA. Stands for Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. This was created in the late 1970s by Jimmy Carter. What was happening was during when the Japanese were buying up the property, and this is not a Japanese thing, many people, but primarily in the 70s, Japanese had a good economy. We did not. They were buying a lot of property here, selling them, making $100,000, bringing it all back to their country of origin. Well, Jimmy Carter said, well, that's not really fair to us. At one time, it used to be 10%. It's now 15%. What they want is, since it was American property that they're making a profit off of, the IRS wants a portion of that. And again, that they need to state that they are a citizen, or if they're not a citizen, that they have a social security number, a tax ID number, or an international tax ID number, ITIN. So that is called the FERPTA that your seller is going to need to provide to us. We need to disclose that to the agents and to the TCs as well. We won't disclose their social security number. We'll block that. They're going to get the grant deed. The grant deed is the document that's going to transfer title from your seller to the buyer. So that goes back to your buyer's vesting sheet. They need to give that vesting to us. That's what we're going to put on the grant deed, which gets recorded at close of escrow. Now, we're also going to be sending out the same documents, the Statement of Information, Privacy Act, etc. Those are going to be universal for both buyer and seller. Now, we're also going to be sending and collecting different requirements for the subject property. So we'll order the natural hazard disclosure statement from whatever company you guys decide you want. Typically, the selling agent or the selling agent's TC will order the home warranty, but a lot of times they throw it on escrow. So not a big deal. We're happy to do that. It's just one extra step, but we're more than happy to do that. If there's a termite report and completion, which are very, very rare anymore, except unless you have an FHA or a VA loan, and they're required. We will take that. We'll disseminate to buyers and sellers for their acknowledgement. We'll pay them at close of escrow. Same with the NHD. We'll pay them at the close of escrow. Same with the home warranty. We'll pay at the close of escrow. Now, if your buyers or sellers are under a trust, I'm sure you guys have heard of the trust. Title is going to require what's called a trust certification. Trust certifications and grant deeds need to be notarized, okay? So the trust certification is simply stating that the trust is in full force and effect. It has not been closed out, and that everything that they're stating, the trustee and trustors are the same. They have not changed since the original trust was created. So title needs that, escrow needs that, because in escrow, if your client is in a trust, we need to be able to, when we close and we give the sellers their proceeds, we have to put it into a bank account that is under a trust account. That's another legal item. Big one you guys will want to keep up on top of is try to get the 9A, used to be called the 9A report. It's a residential property report. It's required by building and safety on all properties in the city of Los Angeles. Often you'll see properties that throughout LA that'll have an LA address, but they're not in the city of LA. Those are the county of LA. It's a small area, but it's over primarily by Baldwin Hills, the airport, that area. You've got a lot of area over there that is county of LA, that has an LA address, but it's not located in the city limits. This you guys will need to learn because it's important for you. Retrofitting is much different, much more complex in the city of LA. They're going to want, do you know what the requirements are for the city of LA? Anyone? Yes, no? Okay, so the smoke detectors need to be installed. Your carbon monoxide needs to be installed. You need to have tempered glass on any large windows. Do you all know what tempered glass is? Prior to, I don't know, 20 years ago, if somebody got drunk and was at a party and fell through a window, they used to come down in sheets, and that could kill somebody. So the government got involved and says that all large windows now have to be tempered. So if somebody goes through it, they come like little bullets rather than in big sheets. Your water heater needs to be strapped. In the event of an earthquake, it's not going to tip over. And you need to have a gas shutoff valve on the property. You also need, if the home has bars, windows on the windows, they need to be safety bars. So in certain parts of the city, you'll see bars on windows. Now, if there's a fire, the person on the inside of the house there's a latch they can pull that'll take them, that'll open the latches so they can get out of the house. So all of those are required by the city of LA. The county does not have that. The county is basically state retrofit requirements, which is the smoke detectors, the gas shutoff valve, and the carbon monoxide. They don't have all of the rest. An easy way to find out, if you're ever curious, in your preliminary report of title, sometimes you'll hear them call it the preliminary title report. We used to call that 30 years ago, but about 15 years ago, there were some lawsuits against title companies, so they just closed it down to preliminary report. Now, if it's the city or the county and you're in LA, the way to tell is by your legal description. If you go to the prelim, your legal description is going to say lot, tract of, in the city of Los Angeles, in the county of Los Angeles, in the state of California. The county, it's not going to say the city. So that's how you're going to know. So there's a lot less detail in doing a property that you're representing the seller on in the county of LA. It doesn't have all those requirements. The purpose of the 9A report is to make sure building and safety is letting everyone know that all of these things have all of those conditions for retrofitting have been complied with. It's also going to give you a little more detail as well. If your sewers are connected to the city, if it's on septic, if there's any fire brush areas, etc. So it's a detailed report. It's required by law. Joey will not close without it, or Rich Pisani, unless you have very specific reasons for not getting that. It's going to be a tear down. They're going to be modifying the home, etc. That's going to be the reason why you can waive that. But very rarely, and most brokers throughout the city will not allow that to actually close without that. Now, building and safety is going to take roughly 2 weeks to get that document. We'll order it online. 2 weeks is actually a quick time frame. Like I said, when I first got into escrow, we actually used to have to mail those in. And if you check something wrong, they would send it back 3 weeks later and you're getting ready to close, and, kind of a mess. So the beauty in computers, it's compacted things to be a little quicker. But that one takes a bit of time. That's important. Your HOA, if you're in a condo, we need to order the HOA docs. Those can take time as well. Typically, we will send a credit card authorization to the sellers. Many times, sellers, for whatever reason, cannot provide that or don't want to provide that. If that's the case, we will, we don't like to, but we'll put it on the company credit card and reverse the account through escrow. Now, that said, HOA documents are one of your contingencies that the buyer needs to sign off on. So we need to provide that to the buyers within a certain period of time. Your NHD report is a contingency that we need to provide within a certain period of time. The same with the 9A report. Of course, you have your loan contingencies there. The preliminary report contingency, the buyer's going to want to see that. They want to make sure that there aren't any unusual liens or judgments. And if there are, that they are going to be able to be eliminated at close of escrow. Because of course, title is ensuring that you're getting the property free and clear of anything that the seller may have had. And only with the new buyer's loan, if they're getting a loan. So that is it basically. That's a short version of the opening package. Now, there are going to be a lot more documents. Again, like I said, I'll send those to you for whomever wants those. Let me give you my email address. If anyone wants me to send, I'll send you a whole blank copy of all of these documents. Email address is D for David. And then my last name, which is EHRICH at larchmontescrow.com. And you guys can feel free to call me anytime if you have questions. When I first got here, you know, I was by myself, so it was a little rushed, but things are calming down now. We have help, so I have help. So feel free to call. Feel free to call on the weekends as well. My cell number is 840-444-2001. If anyone's wondering, that's a new LA area code. People are saying, where's that? Where's that? It's a new LA area code. So again, if you guys have questions, feel free to call me, or if you want to email me, or if you want to stay online after the fact, feel free to do so. All right. Again, this is just a short synapse of what we have to send out, but they're all requirements in order to get your transaction closed and you guys paid. So questions, anyone? All good? All righty, folks. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and holler if you need.
Thank you, Dave.
You got it, guys.
Thank you so much, David.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.